Members of the Guam Solid Waste Authority were hoping to get detailed information from the federal receiver about performance indicators for the Layon Landfill and solid waste operations overall. But the court-ordered spirit of cooperation was called into question when Board Chair Andrew Gale was told by the federal receiver that any information the board requested would first be provided to the district court judge, who could then release it to the GSWA members. Federal Receiver Representative David Manning made it clear that the receiver is the fiduciary for the GSWA, not board members. During a previous meeting, the board had requested the receiver provide detailed information as to why the government has never pursued a claim against the United States for the federal government's role in the early period of the Ordot dump. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency has previously identified the U.S. Navy as being a responsible party for the environmental concerns at Ordot. Manning contends it was an effort that was brought up by the previous Camacho administration that sought federal funding to pay for the dump closure. The federal receiver explained that $103 million in loans and grants were acquired, but eventually abandoned.
There were concerns that Senator Camacho had about the level of debt the government of Guam had at that time. Of course, the debt is considerably larger than that today. But he indicated in his letter that he did not, as I recall the letter, and as I recall discussions with his administration, that he did not have a viable use for the balance of the bond money that would free up, that could pay for it in a way that would not be an additional burden to the general fund.
Manning also referred to a record of decision from the U.S. EPA, noting that the government would likely be unsuccessful in any future claim against the feds, as the Superfund apportions responsibility for the waste that must be cleaned up.
And during the 70, 80 years, depending on how you estimate the life of the Ordot dump, the vast majority of that time, it was operated as a municipal solid waste dump by the government of Guam. So logically, the vast majority of the liability would fall back to the government of Guam.
Manning adds that the government of Guam is free to pursue any kind of claim it wishes to pursue against the federal government, but it's something they would not be a part of. The board, meanwhile, asked the receiver to inquire whether the AG's office would be representing the board, and if not, would they still be able to review their request for proposal for legal counsel. The receiver indicated they would inquire in the next week. Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Mindy Egan.